Yesterday we had covered the page 2. Today we'll cover page 3.
Yes.
So any questions for the last 2 sessions? And also any suggestions for the session that I'm going to do on the live today, Facebook live at 9:30 India time, 6 o'clock your time. Like any topics that comes to mind, put me on WhatsApp. So what I want to discuss is, I want to talk about the steps that various governments have taken for the crisis, like what the Japanese government is doing, or UK is doing, or EU is doing, or US is doing, and then what all India is doing and what all further we can do to stimulate the economy for the next 6 to 9 months or whatever.
Has someone put up this question to you, or this is by your own choice?
No, it just came to my mind that I think this can be an interesting topic because now it's a going issue. So one guy has put a comment saying, how do you know what the governments will do? This is very pretentious. I didn't want to reply on that. It is very funny how people find fault with everything. I'm sharing my opinion. You like it, you come to that video. You don't like it, don't come to the session. Don't listen to the recording.
No, actually he's right. Maybe he's thinking that how can you're just thinking in a very positive, I would say.
Huh?
I think you are thinking in a positive approach, but it's not exactly the one which you are about to say. So you should keep the session something like.
But that no one can say, the whole stock market is based on speculations. Everybody has their own point of view. So nobody can 100% assure that this would be good or not good.
No, I'm not even saying good or not good. I'm just going to say whatever I read, what all the steps the governments are taking and what they should be doing. Because generally the discussion in the world is right that there is a lack of money. There is never a lack of money. Money can be printed, created, whatever. It is a lack of willpower on the part of the government and the rich people to keep running the economy in a certain way. There are a lot of things that the government of India can do and should do, which they are not doing, honestly speaking. Definitely they should be doing a lot more, but because yes, obviously people have less money, so less taxes will come, but government can print the money. But anyways, so that I will discuss at 9:30. So there are other aspects. Any other points you guys want to cover? You can tell me. Ranjit, I didn't get your. Sorry. I didn't get your point when you said I am too positive. I'm just sharing my thoughts. So I think what that guy has written, no, because he writes in other posts also. What I meant to say is that he writes in other posts also.
Okay. No, because most of the guys are anti-BJP, some anti-BJP flops normally. Let me be honest with you. They will be waiting for such a chance. I don't think so. Our Indian government is really doing very effective measures. They just locked down the country. But to be honest, research-wise, they are not doing it. And as a Prime Minister of India, he should be available in media every 24/7 for the questions from the media. If you ask me, whereas compared to Trump is giving 2 hours or more than 2 hours questionnaire sessions with media.
That is different. Yeah, I agree with you. But I am only talking about economics here, politics here.
Yeah, so that's the reason people are like whenever if you say anything about positive or confidence, taking a confidence about Indian government, they will be pissed off.
No, but I didn't write anything about Indian government. I just said I will talk about the economy and the steps that the government should be taking. But anyways, fine. Read what I have put on Facebook. Then you see what that other guy.
Maybe I will write you in the WhatsApp based on my. Maybe you can. I'll provide some add-on information if you need. Let me see.
Yeah, fine. Cool. So questions on the first 2 slides?
Sorry. First 2, I think it's more or less it's a straightforward. But once we read multiple balance sheet, maybe we'll end up with some confusion. And I tried to read yesterday one of the other company, Future Group. I was not able to understand because they use a different terminology completely.
Yeah, so we can talk about that then. But that is in next sessions. So that can be one topic to discuss. What I was saying is, my question was different. My question was, On the first two slides, so no questions, right?
No questions.
It's
Okay.
for me.
And you were supposed to prepare some glossary in that OneNote. Have you guys started on it?
Yeah, my day starts from afternoon, Ishan. Sorry, I will. I will start now after. Maybe
Yeah, so your
I'll
day
start
starts
after.
in afternoon, right? So yesterday you had whole night, na? If you
Yeah, I
start
didn't
at
do
1, you should end at 12, right? Midnight.
No, I did some sport again. I fall asleep and again I woke up last night.
So please for tomorrow, okay, keep something ready, huh?
Yeah,
And,
sure. I already created a OneNote this morning.
but where to store it? Akash had an idea, so we can create a Google Drive. So can
No,
one of
actually,
you,
this can be shared. This can be shared in a OneDrive. If you guys are using a OneDrive, if you have a Hotmail or something, just sign in. It's already stored in my cloud, so it will be. I can make it public. So since I have a 1 TB of subscription, so it's not a problem. I buy this. I had a subscription with OneDrive, so you guys can also synchronize. OneNote is a very good application where you can synchronize everything.
So on this 1 TB, you also have Dropbox.
Yes, whatever you want. If you what do you need this one? Maybe you want to create some folder for videos or something.
Yes, that's what.
Okay, sure. I can provide you. It's not a problem. Since I have 1 TB, I hardly use those data.
but how we will access it? So you will share me a link on Yahoo Mail and I can
Much
just click
better
on it?
than yeah. It's a
Okay.
completely web portal. It's much better than Google, in my opinion. Since being a Microsoft fan.
No, that is fine. So you have something, right? That is okay. I'm technology agnostic. I have no favorites. You have something, you create it, just share the link. It should be easily accessible. Just click on the link, it
Okay,
should be
fine.
accessible.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then just like Akash said, so yesterday's recording is 200 MB. So that I will upload.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Can we begin for today's topics?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So cash flow statement. So in the first session, I had talked about accrual basis of accounting, right? So now because you guys are not asking questions, I will start asking few questions. So can one of you explain to me accrual basis? What do you mean by accrual basis of accounting?
No, I don't know.
So you guys asked no questions. You did no homework. We spoke in detail about this topic. Very sad, huh? All effort going down the drain. Ranjit,
Actually, to be honest, no, I don't know. Actually, even I don't know. I'm taking the terminologies. I will do some
I
research.
spent 15 minutes on this. Okay, so accrual basis of accounting means, say for the month of January, you have to pay rent of $500 or euros, because both of you are in Euro. So 500 euros. It will be counted as an expense in my P&L for month of January. I can pay this 500 euro in January. I can pay this in advance in December or November, or I can pay it with a delay in February or March. That does not matter. For my profit and loss account, what matters is this expense is for the month of January, so I will count it in the month of January. This is accrual basis, which is used for P&L. In a cash flow statement, it is opposite. It is on cash basis, which means that although this rent is for January, if I paid in March, I will count in March. If I paid in December, I will count in December. Is this clear? Ranjit, your video went dark. I think either your light got switched off or whatever.
Is it dark still?
No, this here it's fine. When you move the other side, it becomes dark. I don't know where the light is coming. I think the light is coming from behind. Huh?
Oh, there's some table lamp. It's better now?
Yeah, it's fine now. If you go come this side, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine now. It's fine now.
Okay.
Okay, is this clear to both of you or you have a doubt?
No, it's clear.
Okay. So now here in cash flow statement, the first line, it says, again, cash flow statement like P&L, is for a period. It's not for one day or something as on that day. Okay, it is for a period. They have given only 9 months. So this is for 9 months, which ended in June 29. So basically at the beginning, so the first line, at the beginning they had cash which was around 26 billion, 25 billion 913 million. So beginning will be 6 months plus 3 months. So September 29 or 28, whatever, the last Saturday will be the beginning. So as on that day, they had 26 billion in their account. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. This net income 41,570. This they have got it from here.
Okay.
Okay. You can see the header. 9 months ended P&L. Okay. So this they have added. So 26 billion plus this much profit they made. So cash will go up by this much amount. So total 26 plus 41. Round off. Okay, I'm rounding off, or you can make it 42. So 68. Okay, just for easy understanding. Clear?
Okay.
Now this amount very important to understand. Depreciation. You guys understand what is depreciation and amortization?
Amortization, I don't know. Depreciation, I know.
Okay, what is depreciation?
Depreciation is the value at which you bought a thing today. Tomorrow the value will not be the same thing. So it will either go up or down. So if it goes up, it is called appreciation. If it goes down, it is depreciation. Like for example, mostly all the cars or whatever automobiles you buy, it is a depreciating asset. So you buy it today, tomorrow the value will decrease. That's
So your fixed assets are depreciating asset.
Fixed asset. I don't know about house. Property is considered fixed asset, right?
No, fixed assets are depreciating asset by and large. Okay, especially from a company perspective, except land which is appreciating. So from a company perspective, like Apple, they might have bought laptops for their employees. So generally for that, they will charge 30% depreciation. So for everything, there are certain guidelines provided by the accounting authority of that specific country. So people follow that. So say $1,000 is the cost of the laptop, 300 is what they will depreciate every year. Okay, so that is for one laptop. If there are 1,000 laptops, you multiply and you get the number. Okay. Depreciation applies to tangible asset. Tangible means what you can touch and feel, like laptop, car, whatever example he gave, right? So desktops, any such thing. Okay, so many examples can be there. Amortization applies to intangible asset, which you cannot touch and feel. So there might be some kind of discount that you might have given to the customer, say $500, but that is for customer acquisition. That will give you benefit over 10 years. So instead of charging whole $500 in 1 year, you will do it $50 each year. That is known as amortization. Similar thing in depreciation. If you bought a laptop for 1,000 and its life is say 5 years, every year 200 will be depreciated. So at the end of 5 years, you will be left with zero, and that $1,000 you will use to buy a replacement laptop. So also why companies use depreciation is for the same reason what I explained just now. So you bought a laptop for 1,000, its life is 5 years, but you will not shut down the company after 5 years. After 5 years, you will need to again buy. So you will assume that the laptop replacement cost of laptop is same, 1,000 only. So 200 you will depreciate. After 5 years, again you will buy for 1,000. In real world, maybe the laptop price has gone down, you may get some benefit. So this 200 every year you will show in your balance sheet. Sorry, in your P&L. So here there will be an amount for that. Here there is no amount for that because these guys have not prepared a proper profit and loss account. Okay, for some other companies there will be very clearly shown. So this depreciation will actually be part of this selling, general and administrative, what you see now. Part of this is depreciation.
Okay.
For example, if they bought some companies or some patents, some licenses, some for patents maybe, it will also comes under.
Patents, yes, patents may depreciate, not companies. They bought other companies, they will have different methodology, but patents can definitely depreciate. So see, these are the problem with this kind of balance cash P&L, that they have not given full detail. But ideally, this amount should easily be able to matchable from there. So this whole amount, they will add it back. Why? Because when depreciation is happening for a laptop for $200, they're not paying cash, right? It's not going out from the company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that is why we have to add it back, because this was a non-cash item. Are you with me? Not with me?
Yes, we are with you.
Okay. Let me try to give another simple example. Say total company income was 100.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here what we saw na, this amount, net sales. So total was say 100. Total was 100. So what happened? We deducted multiple expenses to arrive at the profit, which was 30. So we deducted salary, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
So 100 that we took at the net income is in cash, right? Money has come to Apple.
Yes.
But the amounts that we deducted, like salary, okay, it was paid in cash. But depreciation was not paid, right? So that depreciation should be added back, because here I have added only the net income. So
Yes.
depreciation is a non-cash item, so that's why I'm adding it back.
Why is it added? Why is the depreciation added to an income?
No, this is to cash flow, right? This is now I'm talking only about cash. So that's why I'm saying. So let's take a very simple example. On 1st of January, I had 100 rupee cash.
Mm-hmm.
In January, I sold goods worth another 100.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? No. So January 1st, I had 100 rupee cash. That's your first line, 25 billion, whatever. Okay? Then in January, I made a profit of 30. That's your second line.
Okay.
So I have added the profit. So total became 130.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay? But how did that profit come? I would have made some sales.
Mm-hmm.
So the sales was also say 100. Assume the sales was 100.
Mm-hmm.
So then if the sales was 100, profit was only 30. So where did the 70 go? The 70 went for salary, etc., etc., right?
Correct. Okay.
Out of that 70, 10 was depreciation.
Okay. So it is a cost incurred to the company.
Wait, yeah. So 100 example is clear, right? Or shall I change the number? Because
clear.
both I'm using as 100, don't get confused. So now I'm talking about 100 sales. Okay, so I've used this word very clearly. So 100 sales and your profit is only 30. So 70 was deducted, right? So
Mm-hmm.
out of that 70, this 100 sales was in cash. I got the money from my customer.
Mm-hmm.
30 is what I'm left. So 70 in the expense, I paid salary in cash. But depreciation, did I pay in cash? It's just a provision, right? That I have made in my balance sheet, P&L.
Okay.
But I have not paid to anyone. So that money is still with the company only.
Okay.
So that 10 rupees should be added, because I have added only P&L, right? I have not added the whole revenue. If I had added the whole revenue, then I will have to start deducting items.
Mm.
But generally, while preparing the cash flow statement, what companies do is they start with net income and then add other non-cash items. So all these non-cash items will be added here. And then we will subtract some other items. So you will get to know. So is this clear now?
Yes, it is clear.
So that is why we have added depreciation. Similarly, share-based compensation. So I have paid, again, I will go with the same 100 sales, 70 expense. So I paid 30 salary, but out of 30, 15 salary was paid in cash, but 15 was paid in shares. Again, so cash did not go out, right? So that 15 again I have to add back. So that is your share-based compensation. Because this is in the form of shares, not in the form of cash. So this additional cash will also be with the company.
Okay. Okay.
This deferred income tax benefit, this I have not received, but I have shown it as a profit. So I have to reduce it because my profit has increased, but this is again, this item I have not received. So this I have to reduce because this I will receive in future.
Mm-hmm.
This they have got it from here. This amount is not shown, but yeah. So basically the concept is that whatever items which I have not paid in cash, I will add, and which I have paid but not received, I will subtract. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the other items. So this total, okay. Then we will go to the next items here. So account receivable net. This amount again I have to receive. Inventories. So these are the stock that I have. Vendor non-trade receivable. So whichever items I have to receive.
Can you give an example? What is that? Vendor non-trade receivables.
So vendor non-trade receivable will be which are not related to say, which are not related to selling of phones and all. So there will be other items, services or something, which I have to receive from vendors, some other amounts. Again, that is not very clear for me also because they haven't specified anything about it. Okay. And then accounts payable, deferred revenue, all this they have subtracted. So by doing the net of all this, they have arrived at the figure. So basically it is 25 plus 41 plus these items minus 19. They will come to this total item, which is 49 billion. Can you guys hear me? Okay, because I got an error
It's not very
message saying,
stable.
yeah,
Yeah,
I got
voice.
a message that net is unstable.
It's okay now.
Okay. So this is by what I did, how much cash I generated through operations. Then the next one is investing. How much did I get by investing? So how much did I get by investing is I bought securities for 21 billion. When I buy something, I have to pay cash. So this money went out. That's why it's in bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next one is proceeds from maturity of marketable security. So I had some security which matured.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So here in line 2 and line 3, there is something called proceeds from maturity of marketable security. And the next one is proceed from sale of marketable security. Can one of you tell me the difference?
So for, I think, let's say it's like a bond or something. So on some bonds or some FDs, you get every year interest. So let's say that is the maturity. After a particular maturity, you receive some amount. That is what it means. And sell is at the end of it. That at the end of the whole term, when you receive the whole amount.
No.
No. Okay. This is my guess.
Okay. No, you are completely confusing the concepts. Okay. You need to be a little more focused. What about you, Ranjit?
I don't want to say anything stupid.
No, but
It's
try,
better.
na.
No, I think it's
Okay, so see, first understand what is maturity. So I think maybe we should have covered bonds first before coming here. Do you guys understand what a bond is?
bond is some kind of agreement, which is like a virtual money or something, like a assured thing, something with
No, 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 no
equity
virtual money and all. No. A bond is basically a piece of paper.
agreement. Yeah.
Okay, it's a piece of paper where I say that I want to take a loan of 1 lakh rupees from you or whatever amount, X amount. And this I will repay you with 10% interest every year. And this will be for 10 years. So I will give the paper and you will give me the money. So say for simple example, I will take it as 100 rupees and interest is 10 rupees, 10% every year. So like Akash was saying in an FD, so every year I will pay. So I am the borrower, you are the lender. So I gave you the bond, you gave me 100 rupees. Every year, at the end of every year, I'll give you 10 rupees as interest. And after the end of 10 years, you will return that bond to me and I will give you the 100 rupees.
Okay.
Is this concept clear to both of you?
Yeah.
Yes.
When I issue this bond to you for the first time, it is known as same primary market, like an IPO, you can say. That is called a primary market transaction. First time. The interesting thing is in the real world, this bond then can be traded, which means you bought it from me for 100 rupees. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. You paid 100. So you are the buyer of the bond. So you are the buyer of the bond, also known as the lender. I am the seller of the bond, also known as the borrower. So you have given me 100 rupees and you have taken this bond. But say after 6 months, you need the money. But the agreement with me is what?
10 years.
10 years, right? For 10 years, you have given me the money. So if you come to me, I will say, no, boss, this 100 rupees, I'll give it back to you only after 10 years. I cannot give it back now. Because I have borrowed it because I need it. Every year, as per the agreement, I'll keep paying you the interest. So what Ranjit will do is he will go to Akash and say, Akash, can you buy this from me and give me 100 rupees? Or whatever, if there are multiple factors, but let's keep it simple now. So Akash will say, yeah, fine, because I have 100 rupees, you can take it, I will keep this and I will collect the interest.
Okay.
And for 6 months that you kept, I will give you the interest also for 6 months. So 5 rupees I will pay you. So I'll give you 100 plus 5, 105. I don't know, maybe this will end in 10 minutes. So we will reconnect, okay? It is giving me 40-minute limit where I thought this was extended. Anyways, if it ends, we will reconnect. So is this clear to you guys?
It's clear.
Okay.
So maturities and sales, that means you meant that the interest is the maturity and selling it.
Hold on. First understand this. So now this transaction that happened is known as the secondary market transaction, where
Ranjit sells to Akash.
Ranjit can sell to Akash. Okay. And this can happen multiple times. Then Akash can sell to X, Y, Z. So this market is very vibrant. In India, unfortunately, people like you and me are not able to participate much. But between banks, this keeps happening. So a bank might have bought a bond from Government of India, which is maturing in 30 years. Say SBI bought it. When they need the money, they sell it to ICICI Bank. When ICICI Bank needs the money, they go and sell it back to RBI. RBI goes and sells it to UCO Bank, whatever. They keep trading with each other. That market is very, very huge. With retail, it's not so big. In the US, Europe, I'm not so sure how active it is. In the US, this interbank, this market is very strong. So even retail can participate. And then borrower can be anyone. There are multiple types of borrower. Now, after having understood this concept, now tell me the difference between proceed from maturity of marketable security and proceed from sale of marketable security. Still not able to think?
No, wait.
Okay, so I will give you an example. You tell me whether it will come in which one. So say example 1, Ranjit took the bond from me and gave me 100 rupees. Ranjit kept it for full 10 years. And after 10 years, he returned the bond to me and took 100 rupees from me. That will come under proceed from maturity or proceed from sale.
Proceed from maturity for me.
Exactly. That is correct. Okay. Because it has matured. The whole 10 year is over. Example 2. After 3 months, Ranjit sold that to Akash. That will come in 2 or 3. Means proceed from maturity, proceed from sale.
3.
Huh? Hello?
Proceed from sales.
Proceed from sales.
Proceed from sales.
Exactly. Clear?
Yep.
So similarly, Apple is doing the same thing. The numbers are immaterial, right? The numbers are huge, but basically this is the concept.
So just maybe a small insight into this. So then the rate of interest or is different at every sales.
Means?
For example, if I buy it from you and then if I'm giving it to somebody else, will I have to, can I change the rate of interest? Will it be another thing or it will be continuation of the same?
No, no, no. So again, there are many kinds of bonds. So I will not get into complexity. There are many kinds of bonds, but it is based on the initial agreement. So
Okay.
when I sold you the bond, I agreed on 10% per year fixed, right? So
Yes.
again, I'm using the word fixed. There are also floating rate bonds. So like your fixed rate home loan, floating rate home loan, etc. So if I agreed for 10-year fixed, it will always be fixed. It will not change.
Okay.
So, but what happens in the real world is, so if you want to get into that insight, that's a very interesting topic in itself. So I will cover that, okay? So we will complete this in our next session. I will cover this topic because this is very interesting actually. So now say 100 rupees is what Ranjit gave me and I gave him the bond. And interest rate is fixed at 10%. So every year I'm supposed to give him 10 rupees. Now supposedly for some reason the market crashed and the real interest rate in the market came down to 5%. Okay. What will happen to that bond that Ranjit is holding? The price will go up or down?
It will undervalue.
Think and answer. So you gave me 100 rupees. I gave you the bond. Now every year you will be getting 10 rupees interest, but the interest rate in the market has gone down to 5. So value of your bond will go up or down. So you are holding the bond now, right, Ranjit?
No.
I have the 100 rupees and I have to pay you 10 at the end of the year. After 3 months, market changed and it came down, interest rate collapsed to 5%. It doesn't happen in the real world. It may collapse to 8%. But now we are seeing, right, interest rates have come down everywhere. So what happens to the bond that you are holding? Will that price stay? So, okay. Will that price stay at 100? Will it go down to 90 or will it go up to 110?
It will stay to 100, but it will be undervalued in the market, like because of the inflation, right?
And no, don't all that undervalued. Don't give all that gyan. Simple question. 100. Will it stay at 100? So you have the bond, right? Will the price stay at 100, 110 or 120? 110 or 90 when you are going to sell it to Akash. So say after 3 months, interest rate in the market has gone down to 5. Now Akash wants to buy the bond from you. You will sell it at same 100 to him. You will sell it at 90 or you will sell it at 110. What price will you sell? Huh?
I'll sell it at 90.
You will sell it at 90. Okay. Why?
Because I don't hope it will be increasing in the future. That might be a common psychology.
No, you're
No,
not
just
dealing with numbers. Okay. Akash, your viewpoint? So you are wrong, by the way.
For me, it will remain the same. It was decided for 10 years and that 10% this thing. So I do not know if as in reality what happens, I don't understand. But as per the definition which you gave, it should not change. For the 10 years, it should remain the same.
No, but why will the bond price remain the same? The interest rate is constant, right? Bond price is not constant. Na? So you gave me 100 rupees or Ranjit gave me 100 rupees. I gave him the bond and I'm obliged to pay him 10% interest. But now the market has collapsed to 5%, which means I have to pay him higher rate of interest because I am obliged, because it's as per the agreement. But now let me explain. So the price will go up and it will go up. Actually, theoretically, it should double. That is how bond trader make their money. Why it will double is, now say suppose Akash, you have 100 rupees and you want to invest in a new bond. So you go and deal with person X. How much interest will he give you? 5.
5%.
So at the end of the day, you will make 5. And Ranjit, he will make 10. So
Right.
to make 10, how much you need to invest?
You have to invest double.
200, right?
Yes.
So if you invest 200, then at 5%, you will get 5% of 200 is 10.
Yes.
So exactly. So when you go to Ranjit and say, Ranjit, please give me the bond. Ranjit will say, I will give it to you, but why should I give it to you at 100? Because if you invest 100 in the market now, you will only get 5. So you want this bond, you give me 200 because you are guaranteed to get 10 at the end of the year. Because that is my agreement with Nishan.
Right.
So this is the theory of bonds. Okay, there is only 1 minute 20 seconds left. I will reconnect because this is an interesting topic. But basically, whenever interest rate goes down, bond prices go up. So that is why people who invest in bonds always invest with the mindset that if interest rate goes down, I can make a lot of money. So this is a very, very important concept to keep in mind. So let me end the session and reconnect. Okay.